The 76mm divisional gun M1936 was a Soviet divisional semi-universal gun, adopted for Red Army service in 1936. This gun was used in conflicts between the USSR and Japan on the Far East, in the Winter War and in World War II. Many F-22s were captured by Wehrmacht, modernized by the Germans and used against Soviet forces. Description: the F-22 was a semi-universal gun which combined the capabilities of a divisional gun and, to some extent, of an anti-aircraft gun. It had a split trail carriage with suspension and steel wheels with rubber tires. The gun was equipped with a semi-automatic vertical sliding breech block. A recoil mechanism consisted of a hydraulic recoil buffer and a hydro-pneumatic recuperator. The sights and the elevation controls were located on different sides of the barrel. The chamber fitted the standard Model 1900 cartridge, which meant that the gun could use ammunition of older 76.2-mm divisional and regimental guns. Development and production history. In the early 1930s, the RKKA command considered the idea of universal guns, i.e. guns which could be used both as field and anti-aircraft weapons. Mikhail Tukhachevsky, the head of the Ordnance Department between 1931 and 1934, ordered the development of universal and semi-universal divisional pieces. Among other artillery design bureaus joining the program were the Design Bureau of the Krasny Putlovets plant, the Design Bureau of the No. 8 plant and GKB-38. GKB-38 was closed in 1933, and V.G. Graben, the leading developer of the team that was working on the A-51 project, became the head of a Design Bureau of the new Novoy-Sormovo plant in Gorky. In 1934 the A-51 redesignated F-20 was finished, but Graben wasn't satisfied with the result and started to work on a new gun, the F-22. In April 1935 3 prototypes of the F-22 were ready, 2 of them with split trail carriages. All prototypes had muzzle brakes and length and chambers for a new experimental shell. Factory trials started on the 8th of May. On the 9th of June, prototypes were brought to the Sofrinsky firing ground near Moscow. On the 14th of June, the gun, along with other artillery pieces, was demonstrated to the country leaders including Joseph Stalin. The F-22 made a good impression and was sent for ground testing, which was finished on the 16th of December. In July 1935, the plant was required to produce 10 pieces. In March 1936, 4 guns were given to the RKKA for testing, which continued until the 22nd of April. Despite some shortcomings, on the 11th of May 1936 the gun was adopted as the 76mm divisional gun Model 1936. The final model lacked a muzzle brake and was rechambered for the Model 1900 cartridge to allow use of old 76.2mm ammunition. The F-22 was produced by 2 plants, No. 92 and Kiev plant, possibly also by UZTM. Production rate was slow because of more sophisticated construction compared to older guns and because of constant need to fix faults in the design. In 1936 only 10 pieces were produced, in 1937 to 417, in 1938 to 1002, in 1939 to 1503. Production was stopped due to adoption of a new gun, the 76mm divisional gun Model 1939. Organization and Service. RKKA. According to the organization of 1939, each rifle division had 2 artillery regiments, the Light Regiment and the Howitzer Regiment, totaling 20 76mm guns per division. In June 1940 the battalion of 76mm guns was removed, and only 8 guns remain. In March 1942 a third mixed battalion was added, which brought the number of 76mm guns to 12. Motorized divisions had 2 mixed battalions, totaling 8 76mm guns. Cavalry divisions until August 1941 also had 8 76mm guns, then the divisional artillery was removed. The F-22 was also used by anti-tank artillery brigades, from 1942 by tank destroyer brigades with 16 pieces, and by light artillery brigades. The F-22 saw combat for the first time in the Battle of Lake Carson in 1938. The gun was also used in the Winter War. On 1 June 1941 RKKA possessed 2,844 F-22s. Many were lost, but a limited number remained in service until the end of the war. For example, 2 artillery regiments took part in the Battle of Kursk. It was mostly employed as a field gun, sometimes as anti-tank gun, and was apparently never used as anti-aircraft weapon. Other operators in 1941–42 the Wehrmacht captured hundreds of F-22s. Initially they were adopted as field guns, designated Fk-296. In late 1941 it was decided to rebuild the gun as an anti-tank weapon. 7.62 cm Pak-36. The modifications included rechambering for a bigger cartridge, a modified recoil system, elevation controls that were moved to the left side of the barrel where the sights resided. Additionally, the elevation was limited and most of the guns received a muzzle brake. New ammunition was produced for the gun. The Pak-36 reached the battlefield in the spring of 1942. 560 pieces were converted and some of them were used to arm Marder II and Marder III tank destroyers. 9 F-22s in the original configuration were mounted on SDKF Z6 half-track tractors, resulting in the SDKF Z6 Smith 7.62 cm Fk-36. In Romania, some captured F-22s were mounted on a T-60 light tank chassis to create the TACAM-T-60 self-propelled gun. 30 units were built. The Finnish army captured 29 guns and bought an additional 47 from German surplus stocks during World War II. The gun was called 76A36 in Finnish service. The gun was in active service until the 1960s and was stored until the 1990s. Summary. The very idea of a 76mm divisional gun with anti-aircraft capabilities was doomed for the following reasons. An anti-aircraft gun needs powerful ballistics and 360 degrees traverse, which makes the gun unnecessarily big and expensive for a divisional gun. The main purpose of frontline anti-aircraft guns is protection from dive bombers and low-altitude aircraft, against which small-caliber autocannons are much more effective than a 76mm gun. In case of the F-22, the attempt produced a gun which was both a poor anti-aircraft weapon and a mediocre field piece. It lacked 360 degrees traverse and its muzzle velocity fell behind that of even the old 76mm AA gun model 1915–1928. The breech automatic mechanism was failing at elevations higher than 60 degrees, reducing the rate of fire. After initial investigations, the RKKA apparently dropped the idea of using the F-22 as anti-aircraft gun. The gun was never equipped with AA shells and with sights suited for the role. There are no reports about actual use of the gun against aircraft. As a divisional gun, the F-22 also had significant shortcomings. It was relatively large and heavy, which limited its mobility. Employment in the anti-tank role was hindered by inconvenient placement of sights and elevation controls on different sides of the barrel. The gun was hard to produce and unreliable. It offered some advantages in range and armor-piercing capability over the 76 mm divisional gun M1902-30, but wasn't significantly better. As a result, in 1937 requirements for a new divisional gun were issued, eventually resulting in the F-22 USV. However, its German derivative, the 7.62 cm PaK-36, performed well in the anti-tank role. Ammunition.